Yo, what is up, guys? It is your host, the one and only Sage the Samurai here, and welcome back to another What If. And this being, what if Naruto had Gogeta's powers? I know y'all been waiting for this What If. Thank you all for the support and everything. And like I said, apologies for my extremely bad upload schedule. But who knows? Cause right now, I was really just sitting on my bed and I was just contemplating, bro, why don't I just record way earlier? Because, you see, now that school has kicked up for me again, I now have to wake up more earlier. And I decided, bro, if I just finish the work much earlier for school, I can still have time in the rest of the day to upload videos. So, I'm thinking about going through that direction. Although, there's also a problem, that being my extreme laziness. But, who knows? Guys, I don't know what's going to happen. But, hopefully, I can keep this up. But besides that, guys, I'm sorry for wasting y'all's time. Because I know you're, waiting for this What If. So why don't we go ahead and get started with this. Also, I'm sorry if you guys think I'm having too much of a high energy right now. It's just the fact that it's been a really long time since I really got into the mood of what is. And now that I'm back into it, it's just I'm pumped, you know. So anyway, guys, let's go ahead and begin this what if. And let's begin. Also remember that you're amazing. So let's begin.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do?
Alright, guys, let's go ahead and get started with this what if. Again, sorry if you guys think I'm speaking way too loud. Like I said, I'm just really pumped with energy to tell this story and everything. So let's go ahead and begin this. Also, PS, for the people who are wondering about the Asta, what if, don't worry, already got the thumbnails and the story down, and already just finished the editing for it, so you guys could expect it pretty soon to come out. But besides that, now let's begin. So we now begin with Team 7 now returning from the Land of the Waves arc, as they were now entering the Chunin exams arc. At this, you'll see Team 7 had just arrived, with Kakashi telling his team, just like in canon, to go ahead and do whatever the heck they want, while he reports back to the Hokage. At this, each one of them will go their separate way, which each one of them having their own different opinion about the mission. Naruto honestly felt great, however he still felt upset due to the fact that although his strength was great, it was still not there yet. To strive to become better, Naruto had decided he was going to amp his training even further, but until he does, he decides he's actually going to wait for Kakashi to come out of the meeting, as he remembers that Kakashi told him about a taijutsu instructor. As we now do a time skip of Naruto just waiting for Kakashi, we would eventually see Sakura running for a bunch of kids, as Naruto would actually be able to recognize one of them, that being Konohamaru. At this, Naruto would of course dash off to his younger brother, due to the fact that Naruto and Konohamaru, unlike in the main timeline, Naruto had more of a brotherly bond with Konohamaru, mostly due to the fact that I feel like they really had a good opportunity for that in the canon, but really just yeah, nah. But hey, moving right along, we will see Naruto eventually catch up to Sakura and Konohamaru, just as Konohamaru bumped into someone, this being Kankuro of the, Sand Village. At this, the event will play out similarly how they do to canon, as of course Kankuro would actually threaten Konohamaru, lifting him in by by his shirt, as well as threatening to punch him in the face to teach him a lesson. However, right before he even got the chance, a gut punch would silence him instantly, as he gets sent flying until he gets crashed into a bunch of trees by none other than Naruto, who currently is in a familiar stance, which I'm gonna say is Gogeta's, fighting stance. As of course, Temari, as well as a certain another one, that being Gaara, who's up in a tree, who saw the whole thing and was in shock of this. At this, Kankuro was currently knocked out unconscious, as this is when Naruto would then shout at Gaara to reveal his appearance. Due to the fact that Naruto, like I said, in this timeline was, is able to sense out more, and he's more in tune with himself, he's able to sense out the area for Gaara. As just when Gaara makes his appearance, Temari instantly begins to freak out, as she actually looks at Kankuro with a fearful expression. Even though he's knocked out though, she could already tell that Kankuro could already sense the hint of killing intent, due to the fact that already, even while he's unconscious, he was sweating. Gaara, just like in canon, would, in turn apologize. However, he would ask Naruto for his name. However, just when he does so, this is when Sasuke would then jump out, as of course he would actually want to make himself revealed. While Naruto also sent Sasuke, he really did not care much. However, just as Naruto was about to speak up, this is when Sasuke would of course say his name. However, Gaara would of course just as well as dismiss Sasuke as he focused on Naruto. At this, Naruto would instantly just say his name as Naruto Uzumaki with a calm smile. However, deep down, he could sense an unbridled amount of rage and just malice inside of Gaara that seems to be ready to just shoot out. As Naruto was wondering this, Gaara would of course say that he would crush both of them in the Chunin exams, as he and as well as the Sanganing would of course leave. So after that, the event canon would still play out, with of course Sasuke and Sakura going their separate ways, while Naruto actually realized that he needs to make contact with a certain fox. However, right before he does so, this is when Kakashi would actually arrive, as Naruto of course had mentioned to Kakashi that, hey, I want to talk to you. At this, Kakashi ends up telling Naruto about Might Guy and how he also has a Genin team, and although he's not 100% sure if Guy would help Naruto right now, due to the fact that the Chunin exams are now happening, he does say that he would at least give it a shot. At this, Naruto would thank Kakashi, however, he tells Kakashi that he wants Guy to acknowledge him on his own and not by a simple request by his sensei. Kakashi would look at Naruto with a look of nothing more but pure respect, as he had to honestly admit most people would like to take the easy way out. At this, Naruto would move along as he actually asked Kakashi for a description of Guy, to which Kakashi would literally just pull out a picture as he tells him that if you see him and his student hugging, that's a run on sight. At this, Naruto wondered what he meant, but just continue on. Time skip. Once again, Naruto ends up encountering Might Guy just as he was in the middle of training Lee, as just as Naruto had arrived, he begins to announce his presence as he asked if Might Guy, the taijutsu instructor, was here. At this, Might Guy would of course make himself known as he goes ahead and flashed Naruto the flaming youth smile of his. As of course Rock Lee, who was right next to him, would of course introduce himself as well. So at this point, Naruto has both met Lee and Guy much sooner. Although he still doesn't know about the other Genin teams, he does know about Guy and Lee now. At this, Naruto would actually ask Guy if he could, train him, to which Guy would actually look at Naruto as he ends up spouting some nonsense about youth and everything. However, at this, Naruto does say that he doesn't want just Guy to instantly just train him like that. He wants to actually show to Guy, exactly what he's capable of before training. Seeing the request, Guy instantly nods at this, as Naruto would turn to Lee for a spar. At this, Lee would instantly agree, as this is when Naruto would get into a fight with Lee. Naruto versus Lee. The battle would begin with Lee instantly blitzing into action, throwing a swift kick at Naruto, planning to finish the fight instantly. However, Naruto would react just in time, as he would simply just dodge out of the way. However, just as he does so, he would instantly go ahead and throw a kick at Lee as well. Just as Lee saw the kick coming, he would actually go ahead and of course backflip away. However, just as he does so, he does end up feeling the wind pressure from that kick, as it ends up sending a miniature shockwave that actually shocks both Lee and Guy. At this, Guy was now currently on a serious expression, as he was sort of memorizing Naruto's movements. The taijutsu style that Naruto was using was something that even he had no idea about, and it honestly was extremely effective. Although it looked like one of a brawler combined with one of just, regular taijutsu, it seemed exactly more powerful and more fitting for Naruto. He couldn't exactly explain it. As Naruto and Lee would get back into the fight, Lee would throw a flurry of punches at Naruto, to which he would dodge swiftly, as he would of course counter away with some of his own punches. As currently right now, I would say that Naruto, at this point, he was currently just like in base keeping up with Lee. At this, Lee was impressed that Naruto was keeping up with him, as he actually was even contemplating if maybe he should try to, losing off his weights. As of course, after a while, Naruto instantly knew that Lee was holding back, of course. However, he still needed a time to prove to Guy. So, to finish off the spar quickly, Naruto actually stopped moving for a few seconds. At this, Rock Lee and Guy were looking at Naruto in shock, as Naruto would then close his eyes, as suddenly he will begin to breathe in and out. At this is when suddenly a familiar golden aura begins to shoot out of Naruto, shocking both Lee and Guy. As Guy was looking at Naruto, he would say, is he using the inner gates? However, Naruto was not using none of that. He was tapping into the power that he seemed to have gained during that time in the Land of Waves. Although it was still not complete yet, Naruto was trying to hone in on it. As he focuses his energy on mastering it, he would still focus on trying using the incomplete form, as Naruto would then finally have a whitish yet also yellowish aura just resonating off of him, as his hair seemed to glow a little bit due to it. At this, of course, Guy and Lee will be surprised. However, right before Lee even gets a chance, Naruto would appear like only a couple of seconds. Literally, In a couple seconds, Naruto will make his way towards Lee and gut punch him instantly, knocking Lee out right before he even got a chance to react. At this, Guy is in shock at this, as even in base, Lee is far above most Genin. To see him knocked out so easily shocked Guy to his core, as even though Lee even had his weights on, it was still pretty impressive. At this, Naruto would instantly turn off the transformation as he falls down to one knee, as he has to admit, tapping into it, although having no mastery over it, was sort of extremely difficult as well as risky for him, but he was still looking forward to learning it. So after that, I'm just gonna continue moving on. So after that whole spar, Guy had actually agreed to teach Naruto because he was impressed. Naruto not only had guts, determination, but he could also see it that in Naruto's eyes, even though they were more calm and less rapid, he could see that Naruto still had the so-called flames of youth. So he of course agreed to train Naruto. So we're now going to go ahead and actually shift the canon a little bit, because I'm not going to lie, I feel like having only like one day or more to prepare for the Chunin exams is a bit like nah. So I decided I'm going to give it a month. Yeah, a month right before the Chunin exams. Naruto throughout this entire month period had trained his body to the point where he was getting to the point where he's beginning to master his abilities. He also began to unlock a few more. Well, one of the things that Naruto had learned was unlocking the form that Naruto had only but shortly dubbed Super Saiyan. That was it. That's what Naruto called it. And the reason for that is because the name just appeared in his mind. However, Naruto can only use it for an extended amount of period due to the fact that Naruto is still in a young body. You gotta remember that Naruto is still in a young body. Don't get me wrong, he is still strong. He is still incredibly strong for his age, but then again, he's still in a really young age at this point, so his body is not going to be able to keep up with the full power of Gogeta. All right, but his body is slowly but developing to that point. Due to this, Naruto is only able to use the Super Saiyan form for a limited amount of time. However, it still relatively works, you know. Another thing is the fact that Guy had actually ended up teaching Naruto how to open the gates. He was impressed by Naruto's progress throughout the month, as no matter how tough things got, Naruto would do it without any hesitation. Although Naruto did have some difficulty with the power of not only Gogeta, as well as the Uzumaki's stamina, as well as, you know, just the amount of training he has already put into getting stronger, Naruto was able to overcome most of Guy's obstacles. Due to that, Guy had actually instructed not only Lee, but also Naruto in learning the inner gates, as Naruto at this point is now able to open 3 gates, while Lee is able to open 5. However, I'm going to actually change that as well, due to the fact I'm going to say Lee is able to open, I'm going to say he's able to open 6 at this point. Yeah, I'm going to give him 6, due to the fact that now Lee has a true rival. Because don't get me wrong, Lee's rival is still Neji. However, he sees a rival in Naruto as well, as he's the only other person who is able to keep up with him, even without his weights. So now we cut to the present, where we see Team 7 all lined up for the Chunin exams. The team in itself has been doing relatively good, although there has not been much interactions with them. This will cause Team 7 to have a more strained relationship than the one in canon even further, due to the fact that in this timeline Naruto is pretty much not the whole team's punching bag, and also due to the fact that now in this time Naruto is not looking and craving for respect. Also, for those wondering, like, oh, how can Naruto, like, you know, end up mastering all these abilities and everything in such a short amount of time? Remember the key clones that was discussed about in the last 2 parts? Well, Naruto had actually begun to use those to the full advantage, as he was using each one of them to sort of build up his concentration with the forms that he was getting, as well as the inner gates to last a little bit longer. However, this does cause Naruto to end up feeling more intense pain due to it, but he was still willing to go through it, just to continue getting stronger. As Naruto as well as the group made their way to the first exam, of course excusing everything else, they would eventually end up encountering, you know, Guy's team. At this instantly, Rock Lee would instantly, you know, rush over to Naruto, shaking his hand, as he of course is friends with Naruto at this point, while Naruto of course reciprocates it, as at this point both of them are homies at this point. However, just as he does so, that's when, of course, Lee would then turn to Sakura and begin to declare his affection, to which Sakura, just like in canon, turns down. Now, I'm just gonna skip all this stuff because it's really pointless. The only thing that really happens here is Sasuke and freaking Neji going ahead and boosting their own egos, talking about, oh, I'm from a Uchiha, oh, I'm from a Hyuga, whatever. Although, I will say that Rock Lee in this timeline, he doesn't challenge Sasuke. And the reason for that is, I would say this, Naruto, due to the fact that him and Lee are more friends, Naruto's sort of is making an effect on Lee, as Lee realized that he should maybe conserve his strength for, the actual exam. And that even fighting against Sasuke, even though he was pretty confident that maybe he would stand a chance against him, he still felt that at this point right now, it's better to just conserve your strength than wasting it all out already. So at this point, yeah, I would say that Rock Lee in this point, even though he's still passionate, he's like Naruto is getting a lot more reserved. At this point, as Naruto was currently making their way, they would eventually end up meeting up with Kakashi, who ends up seeing them, of course. He ends up, wishing them good luck as they make their way to the first exam. So not much really changes from that point, as pretty much everything sticks to the canon. As of course Sasuke, instead of in this timeline, doesn't really ask for Lee due to the fact that he really didn't get a chance to fight him. However, he does end up asking about Naruto, so just flip Rock Lee with Naruto. Now, when, of course, Kabuto does that, he ends up explaining everything about Naruto to this point, which I'm just going to say this. Naruto, he graduated pretty high in the academy. Not the very best, but he was pretty high in the academy. He apparently has almost excellent taijutsu skills at this point, as his taijutsu is on point. His ninjutsu range is above average, I will say that, due to the fact that Naruto is not really focusing on ninjutsu at this point. Although, he does have a couple of techniques he's excited to try out on this exam. As for Genjutsu, that thing is Naruto's lowest stat, as the most that Naruto is able to do is just dispel a Genjutsu, but other than that, he can't really cast it. So, unfortunately, yeah, Naruto is not a Genjutsu user. But other than that, Naruto was actually pretty good. After that, Sasuke does end up finding out about Gaara as well, which causes Naruto to just look at Gaara confused. However, this is when suddenly a voice would then speak up. This being our friendly neighborhood fox, Kurama. As Kurama actually begins to explain to Naruto that the boy, Kabuto, smelled like snake. As Naruto would of course narrow his eyes at Kabuto, as like I said, Naruto is not like a total dumbass like in canon, as he's actually pretty intelligent. He would actually read up on some of the shinobi history, as he found out about a certain snake Sani and everything. As Naruto of course thanks Kurama for the information, the fox would just huff as he turns away, sort of, silencing himself. Now, if you guys are wondering like how exactly good is the relationship between Naruto and Kurama, well, I will say this. After the Land of Waves, Kurama was of course furious with Naruto due to the fact that he didn't speak with him at all, like Naruto's so-called promise. However, as soon as Naruto got back to Konoha, he began to make peaceful attempts with Kurama, to the point where he actually tried, talking to him every day, asking him like, if he needs anything. And over time, Kurama's response would either to be angry at Naruto, scream at him, threaten him, pretty much the typical, fox thing. However, over time, Naruto began to wear down that hatred of Kurama, to the point where Kurama, although he's not 100% liking Naruto, he would say that Naruto is better than most humans at this point. However, he still does not like him, But he will give Naruto advice once in a while, as well as maybe give him some chakra if he needs it. Maybe. But as we now turn back to the present, the first exam will not really much change. I would say Naruto is more calm in this timeline. However, even though Naruto was smart, he was still not able to solve everything due to the fact that, Sakura was struggling. And Sakura is an intelligent character. Although she does have moments where she doesn't show it, I will admit it. She is intelligent, alright? Although not on Shikamaru's level, but hey, she's intelligent. So, and even though Naruto is much smarter than canon, I wouldn't say he's up to Sakura's level. So, I would say that Naruto would have a hard time with this. Luckily, nothing really happens, as just like in the first exam, or just like in canon, Naruto passes on to the second phase, which being the Forest of Death. Now, this is where most of the interesting stuff happens. Moving on to the second part of the exam, they end up encountering Anko Mitarashi, who is of course the second proctor, as she ends up explaining the rules. Just as in canon, not much really changes all the way until it was finally time for them to enter the forest. At this, Naruto and his team got their Earth Scroll as they all jumped into the forest, ready to pass the exam. we're moving on to the Forest of Death. As we see Team 7 jumping away through the trees, this is when Naruto would then suddenly pick up on something. At this, it was not even that far away, however, he was able to sense a certain person just hiding up. Due to this, Naruto in an instant would then begin to shout, "Something's over there." Of course, hearing this, both Sasuke and Sakura would turn, and suddenly, a random shinobi would just fall out of the tree, demanding for their scroll. Now, just as he says that, his other two teammates show up. However, not much really changes due to the fact that these guys are nothing more but fodder, so I would say that both Naruto and Sasuke were able to take them down. As when they do so, I would say that luckily for them, this team actually had a Heaven Scroll, so now that they have both of their scrolls, they could actually now go to the Hokage's tower, or just to the tower. So due to this, instantly they begin to make their way over there. However, just as they're moving along through the forest, this is when Naruto would then suddenly begin to pick up on something, and it was slithering towards him at rapid speeds. As just when Naruto thinks about it, this is when suddenly Kuruma's voice would then shout, "Kid, dodge!" At this, Naruto didn't have much time to react. However, he was able to react, of course, though, as he was able to grab both Sasuke and Sakura and jump out of the wave just as a massive snake, as well as a big amount of wind, slams into a bunch of trees that were right in front of them. At this, just as Naruto and his group got a safe distance, this when suddenly a person who was riding on top of a snake would then show up, as this was none other than Orochimaru in his disguise, of course. Everyone would look at Orochimaru in shock, as this is when he would then look at them, as he would begin to comment how he was impressed with Naruto's ability to react to that. While Naruto just looks at Orochimaru while breathing in and out heavily, as he could sense the murderous intent that was running off of him. However, Naruto would of course breathe in and out as he begins to, momentarily, relax his body as he takes in the killing intent to the point where he's now neutral to it, as he's able to push it back with his own. Due to this, Naruto would then put on a serious and fierce expression as he would then look at Orochimaru. At this, Sakura and Sasuke were already in panic as they already saw their life flash before their eyes and how they, kicked the bucket. So due to this, Naruto would have no choice but be the only one sane at this point. At this, Orochimaru begins to walk over to them as Sasuke at this point was terrified. As this when Naruto would then suddenly pat Sasuke on the shoulder, causing him to be snapped out of his shock. "When I give the signal, you and Sakura run," Naruto would say. As currently right now, at this point, Naruto knew at this point, these two were in no conditions to fight. Heck, Naruto was for sure that he couldn't fight Orochimaru at this point. No matter how strong he was right now, he couldn't fight him. However, Naruto does remember that this is exactly like the Zabuza situation, however 10 times worse. Because unlike in the Zabuza situation, they had at least Kakashi there with them. This time, they're not only by themselves, but if they even try to escape, this man would literally tear them apart before they even get the chance to even think about it. So Naruto, being Naruto, he will step up bravely in front of his teammates as he crouches down as he begins to prepare some chakra as well as running a little bit of ki. As he ends up speaking to both Sasuke and Sakura, "Both of you, run, now!" At this, Sasuke, he looks at Naruto surprised. However, luckily he was able to gain his wits as he grabs Sakura and begins to run away. Seeing his prey begin to escape, Orochimaru, just like in canon, will fling into action as he rushes over to him. However, right before he got a chance though, he will then be impacted by a powerful fist to his stomach, causing him to look down in shock to see Naruto with a serious expression there. As right now, the only thought running through Orochimaru's head was how was he able to get there so fast. Of course, getting sent flying a couple of trees away, Naruto would instantly begins to blitz into action as he begins to rev up his chakra as well as his ki as he dashes off at Orochimaru. At this, Naruto realize that right at this point there's no holding back. Although he does need to hold out due to the fact that he needs to conserve some of his energy, he does realize that if he holds back even for a second, Orochimaru is gonna gut him out. Due to this, Naruto begins to rev up all of his powers to the full extent, as this will cause Naruto to begin to get a sort of his hair to gain a goldenless aura. At this, Orochimaru looks at Naruto impressed and says, "That's impressive. I wonder what else you can do, Naruto." However, right before he gets a chance, you'll feel a dominating aura begin to shoot off on Naruto, causing him to look at him. Huh? At this, Naruto's hair was glowing as he was currently right now looking down at Orochimaru. His eyes were staring down at him. as he could see that Naruto's electric blue eyes were seemed to be glowing as well. This was Naruto tapping into Super Saiyan. At this point was glaring at Orochimaru, as he was currently right now using, like I said, almost everything he had. At this point, Orochimaru was now intrigued as he sees Naruto's dominating aura. As he goes ahead and licks his lip, ayo, he goes and smirks at Naruto. I'm now interested. Show me what you can do, Naruto. I'm not gonna say the Kun part because I'm sorry. That's just weird, bro. Orochimaru is just weird. I'm sorry. But moving right along, Naruto doesn't even hesitate as he blitzes into action, appearing not even a few seconds, nearly a few milliseconds, instantly appearing right in front of Orochimaru as he throws a punch to his face. Orochimaru, right before he even gets a chance to react, feels the punch connect to his face at this point, as his face instantly begins to literally get destroyed due to it. At this, at first you would think Orochimaru would be pissed off or maybe even dead. However, he would suddenly begin to shed skin or something as he begins to open up his mouth to the point where another version of himself would just appear. As he begins to laugh like a maniac. That was gorgeous. Show me more, he would say. At this, Naruto looks at him not only grossed out, but in shock as Naruto begins to rev up more of his aura. Damn it! As he begins to actually take off once again. However, this time something was happening. Although Naruto never really got much of a chance to explore with Super Saiyan, as the most thing he was able to do was increase his strength and attack, Naruto was unknowingly also flying with it, as he was literally just flying over to Orochimaru, no strength involved. This was of course shocked to Snake Sanin. However, Naruto was not paying attention as he begins to go down on Orochimaru, as he begins to go with barrage of punches and kicks, trying to beat him up. As Orochimaru at this point, he was enjoying it. However, he was also realizing that he needs to take Naruto more seriously at this point, as if this continues on, he's really gonna die. Due to this, not to make himself look weak, Orochimaru begins to fight back against Naruto, as Naruto actually begins to have a hard time hitting the Snake Sanin. Due to the fact he fights, well, like a snake, he literally worms around and everything. It's creepy, dude. As he begins to slither around the forest and everything like a snake, Naruto would have more of a hard time fighting against Orochimaru, not being used to the way he fights. However, Naruto was not giving up as he tries to charge up more and more energy. However, as Naruto begins to see that Orochimaru at this point is just taking him even more serious, Naruto decides that he was not going down even further, as he lets out a cry that ends up shaking up the forest quite a bit. As everyone could actually hear Naruto, crying and everything, this is when Naruto would also begin to interpretate greenish and bluish aura into the yellowish aura of just Super Saiyan. At this, Orochimaru's eyes will widen as he feels Naruto's chakra reserves just begin to go up, as Naruto would then yell, "Gates of opening, open!" As Naruto will begin to burst out with more chakra, as Orochimaru's eyes at this point were bulging. This boy could open the inner gates as well as the strange power. Orochimaru at this point now knew that, hey, I need to get this guy. As he, whoa, by that I mean he means he needs to get this guy a curse mark. That's what I meant. Alright? Either way, back to it. As Naruto continues screaming, "Gates of healing, open!" As Naruto is now opening as much gates as he can, to the point where he ends up yelling the gate of life to open up. As at this point, Naruto's skin was turning reddish, as well as the combined auras of not only Super Saiyan, but the 8 inner gates, as Naruto was at this point on a level that was shocking Orochimaru. He was shaking the forest to its core, as currently right now, even in the Hokage's office, Hiruzen's eyes were widening as he senses Naruto's chakra just skyrocketing. Hiruzen's eyes widened at just how high Naruto's power is going, as he was in shock that, the young little boy Naruto that he knew had such power. However, this is when he would then see outside the village, he would see that the forest of death, the entire thing was shaking due to it. However, he would also realize that whoever Naruto was fighting, to make him exert this much amount of power, he must be on an entirely another level, as this caused him to narrow his eyes. Because you see, at this point, if Naruto is exerting this much amount of power, it's shaking the whole entire forest of death, then that's something that he needs to check out, alright? So at this point, he ends up ordering some omelet to check it out, as he hopefully hopes that whatever Naruto is facing, it's whoever it is, he needs to know, alright? He just needs to know. Back to Naruto. At this point, Naruto was currently right now just exerting so much aura that the branch that he was standing on just broke. Luckily, instinctively, he was literally just staying in the air, floating. As currently right now, Orochimaru at this point now realized that now would be a good chance to get away. As even though right now, due to the fact that Orochimaru is now using his full strength, he's going to have to release it if he's even going to think about taking on that thing. And if he even thought about it at this point, that means his signal and his presence will be known throughout the entire Hidden Leaf Village. So not wanting to sabotage the plan, he will begin to announce to Naruto saying that he will meet him at a later date. However, Naruto would just be like, no. At this, Orochimaru would slither away at top speed as he was thinking that he had escaped from him. However, in just 1 millisecond later, Naruto would appear right next to him. Literally casually, with his hands in his pockets, he would ask, where exactly are you going? Orochimaru's eyes would widen as he would then suddenly be kicked up into the air, as Naruto would then dash off in tears as he begins to pummel Orochimaru throughout the skies of the Forest of Death. As to everyone in the Forest of Death, they could feel miniature shockwaves just through punches alone, as they were like, what the hell is happening at this point? Naruto was giving it his all. However, sadly, his body is not being able to keep up with this pressure right now. At this was the very first time that Naruto ever tried combining the gate with Super Saiyan. And now, Naruto now realized that the taxing on his body, even at this point, is just way too much for his young body to keep up with. So unfortunately, this power boost, and let me just tell you right now, this all happened in the span of only, I would say, 40 seconds. However, sadly, the bones in Naruto's arms just snapped. Like, they literally broke. As Naruto had collapsed down on the ground, just as he landed one more powerful hit to Orochimaru. At this point, the Snake Sani, he had to go ahead and literally just, substitute bodies 3 whole times during that entire beating. He could not do anything, as he could not land a good amount of hits. Naruto was way too fast, too strong, and this is the fact that he combined both of the gates with just Super Saiyan. At this, Orochimaru was now panting alone as he sees that all the damage that was done. However, at this point, he was way too weak to do anything as he decides to slither away. However, he does look at Naruto with some hatred in his eyes. Naruto Uzumaki, I swear I'll get my vengeance on you, as well as I will be getting your body. As Orochimaru had made that last declaration, he would slither away at top speed. However, the effects of the injuries were still there, as he was going at an extremely slow pace, to the point where he literally had to merge into the background just to escape. As for Naruto, at this point, he was collapsing, as inside his mindscape, we would see Kurama, who was currently looking down at Naruto, with a look that just said of pure annoyance. Stupid cocky brat, to think you will go ahead and tax your body, even though it's still weak. Although Kurama had to admit he was impressed with the power that Naruto had exploited at such a young age. However, that didn't mean that, automatically Kurama was going to become best friends with him and everything. However, he does say that he's going to heal his host. As he begins to pump Naruto with some of the Nine Tails chakra, Naruto's injuries begin to heal, but this time at a much more rapid rate. As Kurama would then say, you better be grateful, brat. At this, we will now do a time skip as a bunch of Anbu had appeared on the scene as they were taking in some of the destruction of the Forest of Death. They saw a bunch of trees just scattered about, destroyed amount of damage, a ginormous crater in the ground, as well as they could see signs of just ginormous wind crashing about. They wonder, like, what the heck happened here? Was it like, a free-for-all with Genins, overpowered Genins? Heck, some of them didn't even wonder if it was Genin at all, as that power was far too much for even a Genin to even wield. At this point, they all wondered this. However, as they wondered this, they also wondered, like, just who could have been the cause of this. As we now turn our attention back to Naruto, who currently right now was waking up, however, in a fit of just soreness. He will go ahead and take in the area around him as he realized that he was under a tree right now. As he will go ahead and look up. Oh, what the heck happened? At this, he would see nothing or no one responding to him. As this is when Sakura would then rush over to Naruto as she tells him to lay back down. So pretty much Sasuke and Sakura, after feeling not only that ginormous amount of power, however they also had heard Naruto screaming, as they were the closest to him even though they were farther away. As they had actually sensed all the destruction and everything, they eventually had arrived there, as both Sasuke and Sakura saw the destruction that Naruto had done. Sakura looked on with awe, however she saw Naruto down on the ground just collapse, so she of course took him with them. However, Sasuke, he was currently contemplating in his mind, like, how strong is Naruto at this point? Not even joking at this point, Naruto has done completely ridiculous feats to the point where Sasuke is now contemplating, could he even reach that at this point? As like Sasuke is now even contemplating, like, should he even consider Naruto a rival at this point, as Naruto is becoming more and more to the point where he's seeming like he's unreachable. However, back to it, Sasuke would of course, as well be there, as they end up saying that they still have their scrolls, and if with time they could actually arrive over there at the tower. So seeing this, Naruto would of course nod. However, sadly, Naruto is unable to move due to the fact that his body is not responding. At this, Naruto was of course panicking, but this is when Kurama would then speak up, saying that Naruto had taxed his body to the point where, like, it's exhausted and it needs time to rest. So seeing this, Naruto of course agrees, as this is when of course Sasuke and Sakura would of course pick up Naruto's body, putting him on their shoulder as they dash off to the forest of death. Dash off to the tower. So we're now gonna go ahead and do a time skip. So it's been 2 days since that whole event happened. They did arrive at the tower, however it needed 2 days trip due to the fact that Naruto's whole body needed 2 whole days to at least be to the point where it's at least responding to him. However, he was still sore, and currently right now he honestly had no idea what much he can do. Kurama was also helping Naruto heal, as he would try healing Naruto's body even further due to the fact that he didn't want his host to be so-called weak, However, although unknown to Kurama and even unknown to Naruto, Kurama was feeling a little bit worried for his host due to the fact that Naruto actually tried making an attempt to be friends with Kurama. However, as we continue on to move forward, Naruto would eventually be healed enough to the point where he's at least able to fight again. As after the whole week passes by, all the contestants had arrived there to finally take the exam, and pretty much it was finally time for the preliminaries. So the preliminaries would begin with none of the matches really changing. Sasuke would still go up against that mask guy. Sakura and Ino will have that, I'm sorry, but extremely pathetic fight. And finally, there was the fight against Naruto and Kiba. Now that fight, bro, that was barely a fight at all. Because I'm just going to say this right now. If you honestly think that Kiba was going to give Naruto a challenge at this point, then you have not been catching up to this what if. Don't get me wrong, Kiba, I would say he's decently powerful for a getting at that point, but I would say that during this point in time, he's not exactly strong enough to deal with current Naruto at this point. So I would say this, Kiba would of course boast about being powerful and everything, however Naruto would just take it at face value and remain calm with it, as he would do nothing more but begin to just tap into a little bit of his ki, as his body was, although able to fight, not at 100%. So using ki to boost himself up just a little bit, and Kiba would of course go into Fang over Fang, trying to instantly take out Naruto. However, Naruto will literally just bring his leg up and then swing it down into an axe kick, as Kiba's head would just be slammed into the concrete ground, as he would be knocked out instantly, ending the fight right before he even got a chance to start. Everyone was shocked at this, as Hiruzen was already making plans to talk to Naruto later on about his newfound strength as well as his crazy boost of power he felt at the Forest of Death. However, after everything's said and done, the same fights would still continue on, and unfortunately, Rock Lee still gets to fight Gaara for one of the top 10, for me, one of the top 10 best fights in all of Naruto. I'm sorry, that's just my preference, but yeah, definitely top 10. So Rock Lee and Gaara will still happen with, unfortunately, I would say this, Gaara and Rock Lee, they put up a much better fight than they do in canon, with Lee going all the way to the 6th gate to literally almost pulverize Gaara. However, I will say this, due to that dang sand defense, Gaara was unfortunately strong enough to, survive and everything. However, I will say this though, Gaara, after the whole beating of Lee, was too exhausted to even crush Lee's leg. However, Lee at that point, after using the 6th gate, had passed out unconscious. As of course, due to this, the project had declared Gaara the winner due to the fact that he was not only still conscious, but he was still still able to go on. Barely, but still able to. At this, Guy was of course upset that Lee lost, as well as Naruto. However, in the end, he showed them that he was a splendid ninja. Plus, this only causes Guy to think even further of how to train not only Lee, but also Naruto. But hey, with now all that being said and done, it's finally time to put an end to this part for now, as currently right now, Hiruzen had just announced the beginning of the 2-month training period. So he'll give them 2 months to prepare and everything. And pretty much after that, things will still go on the same, with Kakashi deciding to train Sasuke. While Naruto decided he was not only going to continue his training, however, he was going to go ahead and continue on getting stronger. However, unfortunately, I will say that Guy would unfortunately be unable to train Naruto as much. He's still going to train him, just not exactly as much, due to the fact that since Neji is technically a student as well as Naruto, they'll both be pinned up against each other, and he doesn't want to exactly show favoritism. But Naruto was okay with that, as he completely understands. As, like I said, Naruto is also going to continue training himself. Also, unknown to Naruto, a certain little fox had an idea for Naruto's training, as he's not gonna lie, Naruto had gained more of his respect after the whole fight in the Forest of Death. So besides all that, guys, this is where I'm gonna end this part to this what if. Hope y'all did enjoy. Like comment down below what your thoughts on it, what's your thing. Just hope y'all just remain respectful and be kind to others. Also remember, guys, how amazing you are, because you guys support me even though I have one of the worst upload schedules, trust me, and I'm not even proud of that. But hopefully with this new one that I'm thinking about, maybe it'll be better off, because I'm gonna try to post much earlier. But hey, who knows? Again, I want to thank you guys for your support, and hopefully I might begin to post more often. But besides that, guys, stay awesome, stay great, and hope you have a lovely day, because your boy Sage D Samurai is out. Peace.